Big thanks to our podcast sponsor, Hair Care Australia, for getting on board with us for our first season. I have worked with this company for such a long time and have seen such growth within my business, and I have felt very lucky to work alongside them in my business as well as working alongside them in our podcast. Thank you, Hair Care.
Welcome back to the Salon Rising podcast.
I wanted to start this episode just so everyone knows, and Jen said no.
I said no
continue.
because we just need a little segue and then you can say what you want to say, and that's totally fine.
Okay.
So I think it's really important, the guest that we've got on today, because we talk a lot in the Salon Rising business about the 3 pillars that we believe in, and that spirituality and holistic, mentoring is something that we're really big on. And that has come from the journey that you have been on with our dear friend, Belinda, who is here, who you may now introduce.
Okay, excellent. Everybody, this is my spiritual guru. The reason I don't live in a gutter, broke and divorced.
Stop it.
And one of my very best friends. Also, she co-ties with Janet being Wilder's godmother because, I only have the best godparents in the world for my children. And I have now known Belle for about 12 years, I think it's been. And she's honestly one of my favorite people on the earth, and the reason I am who I am. Welcome, Belinda.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so exciting to be here.
See, we're only minutes in and already tissues required.
Oh, no, I'm with my favorite human, so I'm very lucky. Thank you.
Even when we were discussing this, Belle's like, what are we meant to be talking about?
know.
And I was like, it's just sitting on the lounge talking
I'm a
shit.
planner.
It's fine.
You know that?
I was like, ring Jen. She'll have a better idea. I'm just going to get on the couch and start talking.
I walked into the salon the other day and Jen goes, I said, what are we going to be talking about? She goes, you're one of those. I'm like, yes, I need to know what's going on. But
we generally don't know most of the time.
No,
we just start
I
talking
love
and
it.
see what happens.
Hey.
Jen knows.
Hey. Now, I do actually know. There's an outline.
Yeah.
We're not completely winging this shit.
So when everyone says to me, God, Jen is so good on the podcast, it's because she knows what she's talking about. I do not.
Okay, so we've got Belinda here today, which I think is really cool because, as you said, I mean, I wouldn't go as far to in the gutter, but
there would be definitely gutter stage. I would not be the human I am.
she has had a huge impact on both our journeys in life and the general pursuit of happiness, basically.
Yes.
So let's start.
I feel honoured. Thank you.
You're so welcome. So I think it's really important for us to introduce first, because obviously I met Belinda through you.
Yep.
So a little bit of background on how you met.
Yep.
And what Belinda does that helps our lives so much.
Okay, I'll do how we met. Belle can do what she does.
Yes,
Okay.
I think that's great.
Okay, so we met in the salon. Belinda was a client. So in the very early days of La Sorella, I think, it was like a good 12 or 13 years ago. Yeah. Belinda was a client of Leah's, who was one of my first staff members. And I remember the day so well. I remember where you were sitting and everything. And I came in and Leah said, I was going to do a worksheet with Belle, except I've got a client, so you do a worksheet with Belle. And I was like, okay.
What
Is
is
this our
a
first
work?
experience?
This was I think we'd
Very
met
early on.
But like I didn't know anything about you. So we'd met as you being a client.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. I don't know what a worksheet is, but amazing. Let's do this. And you were like, what do you want to do a worksheet on? And I was like, I don't know what this means, but okay. And you're like, let's do money. How do you feel about money? And I was like, and I feel a bit sick when it actually says it when I come out of my mouth now because I'm so different. But I'm like, I fucking hate it. Like I hate it. And I'm stressed all the time and I just hate it. And Belinda was like, oh yeah, we're doing a worksheet on money. And from that point forever, my life changed. In many different ways, but that was the first like proper interaction that you and I had, and I did this worksheet on money and came to the realization, which I talk about a lot when it comes to Salon Rising, when we talk about finances. I spoke about this pinnacle moment because I know that it can't just be all strategy, it needs to be energetics as well. And even that relationship then I had with money and the behaviors with money and how I thought of money. And it's ever evolving. You and I have done so much work with me on money. I think that it truly evolves all the time. But like that was the first thing we did, and then I was obsessed with you and never left your side for
I
the
know.
night. Then I like tie her to me at every episode. Oh, yeah, how can I tie yourself more? Okay, you want to be my best friend? Yes. Now, do you want to look after all my humans? Yes. Now you can be a godparent and never leave me.
I know. And
Every single one of us.
Best day of my life walking in and meeting you, I swear. And it's funny how there was just this connection from the beginning. I think when we met was like, I think we need to be besties.
Yes.
Just so you know, I'm as obsessed with you. You know, so it was a good start, I think.
We worked together for a really long time, and then just every time we were in each other's space, we just like loved spending time more and more. And then it was actually during COVID, I think, that you and I became best mates.
Yeah.
Like we'd walk
Because
every
you
day.
were within the kilometre
We were in the
radius
kilometre
that you were
radius.
allowed to walk outside.
So Belle and I
together.
walked a lot together, and you know,
Have our big
we
D&Ms.
kind of got to that point where I'd done so much work with Belle, which she'll go into a second of what she does, but I'd done so much work that I then started being able to call her on her shit too. So, and then we were just like both evolving crazy. We'd have these conversations that were just so expansive, and every time we were together, we're just, you know, and anyone to watch us from the outside world when we're together, it's just like this explosive conversation, and we're like, yeah. And, you know, when I leave Belle's house now, like her whole family comes out and like waves, like it's like till the very last minute we'll like drag this conversation out. Like, but if you would like to explain what you do, because for me, I could explain it in simple terms, but, you know, explain to the people what you do and how you got into it and a bit about that.
How long have we got? So I was always a bit spiritual when I was a kid, and, you know, at 20 sort of did reflexology, Chinese energy massage, all that kind of thing. But I was about 32, had some events happen, and then I kind of had a big crash, which then led me to looking at how to feel better. And I was always a really sensitive person, as you know.
And it's not, I won't go into it, but it's not just events. You went through quite a lot of trauma. In a portion, which for me, even like, you know, it doesn't need to be talked about, but for me, so much of what I go through, you can relate to. Money problems, you know, when people go through losses of humans, when people go through hardships in marriages, like so much when I speak to you is, you know that whole conversation piece. So it makes it easier for me to relate when you're like, I went through this or I went through that, or this is like, you know, on that pursuit to happiness, this is where I was.
And it went dark. It went pretty dark there for a while. And there was a deep journey for me. Lots of things had happened, and I was on a quest for happiness. And so traditional sort of work, psychologist and things like that wasn't the mental game. I just had to do my own journey of healing. And so I was on a bit of a quest to find that happiness and look at alternative avenues to do that. And, you know, back then spirituality wasn't seen as something very exciting. The perception around spirituality was a bit woo-woo. So
I remember you in the beginning, it took you it took quite a while and like a lot of processes even for you to
use the word spirituality. Because there was
you
a lot
felt
of
like you didn't fit the mold
of what
the mold
spirituality
of like,
is.
oh, I'm not like a, you know, hairy armpits, don't colour my hair, like
Nimbin belt.
yoga pants.
That's it.
Wearing guru.
Because it's not spirituality. The word spirituality is seen as a bit voodoo. You know? There was a bit of hocus pocus involved in that side of things. So I didn't, and it's you don't take it. It wasn't as credible.
And I think when I first started seeing you, you just stepped into this space not long before that, I don't think.
I'd only probably been 4-ish years into it. So at 32, I went down that dark place, helped me find answers. I did past life regression. I did a few other wacky stuff. I did Reiki master. Oh, the Kundalini dance. Oh, yeah. I was opening my chakras and it was all about just help me heal, please, you know. And then I came across this, I did this study, Radical Forgiveness, that was it was like when I first read that book, I read it and thought, man, this is like, I was reading it feeling like I already knew it. So there was an inner knowing that was happening for me that spoke deeply into something that I couldn't really understand, but understood that there's, you know, as we live, I didn't think it was just a black and white reality. What's behind all of this stuff? What's, you know, the universe. I guess more people understand about the universe, but I human behavior, how do I feel better, was a process where traditionally just trying to move on and, you know, feel better was a deeper journey for me. And I needed to find something that was truly transformed it, rather than using like, I just have to wait to get over it. And the process of me growing through, I did a year before. So I read all this stuff, did a lot of reading, thirsting for knowledge and information, and finished the first, what's it called? I was a radical forgiveness coach. And then I did another one, but I can't remember. And then I did a year because I actually had to see if it worked. Sounded great in theory. There wasn't much out there on spirituality and energetics. So I did a year of really focusing on transforming 3 areas of my life. One was the self, one was relationships, and one was money and wealth. So, and through that, you know, I was still grieving. I had a brand new baby. I had a lot of, you know, levels to look at. But at the end of the day, I started to see my reality change doing this energetics. And I got fucking excited, excuse my language.
No.
You know, about
We needed that there. That is fucking exciting.
It is fucking exciting.
because I realized that life isn't just you are experiencing it and then you have no control over it. I realized that the more I started to heal, the more I started to release, the more I started to look at what my programming was, I started to see my life change, and I started to get happy, and I started to create a very big change in my world, whether it was in all my relationships. It doesn't magically poof and go away. There is a whole, you know, we're doing it for
I really
years,
wish
mate.
it did magically poof and go
Oh,
away.
mate, me too. Sometimes things
work.
come up now and I'm like, oh, I've learned another fucking lesson. I had enough. I think I said that to
Yeah.
you like a day ago. I was like,
I've had
no
enough.
more lessons.
Yeah.
I've learned enough lessons in my
Yeah.
life. Why can't this just disappear? But like the whole purpose of here is to learn and grow from, you know, and people, it's all about that. Like really for that understanding, it's that core wound, you know, and
Yeah.
people don't look back and go, what's a core wound? So for me, describing even what, you know, my journey with Belle, one of the first ones was money. And when I really looked at what my money behaviors were and how I felt about it, and looking and unlocking that, and then going, holy crap, no wonder I feel this way. But, you know, that's when I started doing, and I've spoken about that, that's when I've started doing the energetics work as well as the strategic, because I very much think, especially when you're a business owner, those two things needed to come into place.
Absolutely.
And the cool thing is over the years too, as I said, I've kept doing work on money, but even lately, you know, during COVID and stuff, like Belle and I would have conversations about money as friends, not as work. And Belle's husband also is incredibly brilliant in business and stuff like that. So then we started having conversations around money in a different way, in the more strategic way, him and I and Belle. And, you know, that's where the new accountant came from. So even growing myself in conversations in that way too has truly changed my life, you know. So I think the both of them are so important. And again, Belle's had the same thing. They've had businesses, they've had tax debt, they've had things like this, which allow it all to be so relatable. Like it's not like Belle's
Yes.
like, I am this guru that's standing on this mountain that's had this easy life. Like,
With hairy armpits.
yeah, it just all
Hopefully
became.
not.
They're not.
And then, you know, from there we moved to so many different areas
Yeah.
of my life, such, you know, massive areas. And slowly through that, the more I started working with Belle and that as my life transformed, then all my humans started, I was like, you have to see Belle, you have to see Belle, you have to see Belle. And then that all started happening as well. But like you said, we were laughing before about Hocus Pocus, because my sister, which hilariously enough is one of Belle's other best mates, now when I first started seeing Belle, she used to call her Hocus
yeah.
Pocus because that
Yeah.
idea of spirituality 10 years ago was just so different. So she was like, oh, it's a bit hocus pocusy when we'd speak about it. And then she had some things go on once, and I was like, you need to go and see my girlfriend. You need to go and see her. And now she's like, holy crap, how did we ever
How did we
survive
live?
without Belle?
I think that the spirituality word, I think the new words they're using is understanding energetics,
Yes.
understanding coding, understanding what your wounds are,
Yes.
and
The
being
core
able to-
wounds.
yeah,
Yeah.
and understanding how to transform it.
Yep.
It's like we're a computer system, And we don't realize we've collected all this data that becomes a program of how our projection, I go weird, don't I? Sorry. Pull me back if I'm going weird.
I was like, Belle, you have to keep this simple.
Keep it simple, sorry. But when people are understanding the law of attraction and realize that they're a creator in their reality, you know, the truth of the matter is if you're not doing any internal work and you're just expecting your outside reality change, it won't. That's physics.
Yeah.
So the catch is you have done on your masculine energy, your doing energy is extraordinary. You are the most phenomenal creator. But
So
you also did.
This was interesting that, as before you go on, Belle, you know, taught me, and this is, I think, something when she's talking about it now that's really important. If you're trying to manifest, you know, this big life or the money or the cars or whatever it is, you can't manifest first without reprogramming like the lessons, because if you've got this core wound of money and you haven't done any work on it, and then you're like, money, come to me, come on, I'm going to manifest. And why is it not manifesting? It's like the universe is like, I can't give it to you until you
think it's yuck. You keep telling it to go away. What do you
know,
want?
And
from
that
me?
kind of changed my life as well. It's everybody's in this like I feel like in this space at the moment, like I'll manifest it. It's like, well, you've got to get rid of the past things before you can manifest the future things, right?
Yeah. Because people talk about, you know, the secret, the law of attraction, why it doesn't work is because 10% of your brain is around your thinking mind. 90% is sitting in the subconscious and unconscious mind. And all of your programming sits in there, and it's not in your awareness. So part of understanding your energetics is you can say 1 billion times, I am a millionaire, I'm a millionaire. But if you've got in 90% in your subconscious brain, in your mind, subconscious means that everything you've ever experienced and been taught about wealth. So what your parents taught you, what your generation or what your grandparents, what society teaches you about wealth and hustle energy and making money and, you know, grow and, you know, boss queen bitch, that sort of energy. It's different to you are going to try and be hustling in creating from that space. So my dad just said, you know, money doesn't grow on trees when I was a kid, and you got to save and you got to be careful with how you spend it. So I hadn't realized that I created all the way through my 20s this fear around spending it and accumulating it, and then when you had it, you're like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm scared to let it go. So all of this, the energetics, which was the energetics being what you've been taught, became what my reality showed me. And I was so curious about it, and there wasn't a great deal of understanding around at the time, but I was like, holy crap, this is the key. I am the key to transforming my life. So I deep dived into energetics to understand it, which meant that I became really good at understanding people's programs and in just using my intuition, and the programs are everywhere. And so I kind of use a little bit of psychic ability as well as just knowing the same programs people run. I had them to start to resolve them for people, because once you see who taught you, what were the beliefs, what's the past experience that also matched to it, and you resolve it, you can start to perceive things differently, right? You can you transform that energetics, and you can start then holding this whole amazing, wow, I can start to hold a new program. So it's like we get our phones and, you know, we get new upgrades. We upgrade our phones, and we're exactly the same in our energetics. We need rebooting. And there's a whole heap of crap going on right now out there with, you know, astrologically, it's, you know, we've gone from age of Pisces to age of Aquarius, and all the shadow material is coming up. People want to expand. People are sick of living this certain way. So this whole movement about spirituality or expanding into, you know, divine self, that's great when it comes to, you know, you have to do the masculine work around, you know, redoing the physical side of growing businesses and things like that. But also the energetics is so important, because if you get to the point of making money, you might still hold the belief that you're not deserving of it. And so damn, she's going to go.
And that's what I mean. I have done so much work. Like I did money work with you like 12 years ago, and I only have just done money work again maybe a couple of months ago. And I have a successful business, but I realized there was this whole connection and you know, like learning how to do this with you over time. Like now I can ring you and be like, oh my God, I just unlocked something huge for me. But, you know, there was this whole thing, and I have spoken about this with my members in Tap In. There was this whole situation for me where I was putting my money in everybody else's hands because I realized that I was never really taught money. And then I realized because I didn't trust myself with money, so it was unsafe for me. So then I was like, every time I've trusted myself with money, our business and our lives have transformed. Every time that I don't and I expect somebody else to do it for me, it fails. And I realized, holy crap, I wasn't trusting myself when it came to money. And then it was just this whole download with all these things, situations that were happening, relationships with people that were happening, that I was like, oh my God, there it is. And like you said, there was this massive core wound.
Because you were still, you have the growth. I have to just, give you some credit here. The growth that you've done over the last 12 years is absolutely extraordinary. And for you to be teaching this to other people, you're making a big difference. Because what you have done energetically is allow people to expand into that wealth as well. And you can't teach what you haven't actually experienced. So I always find, I got goosebumps. So it's
then
like,
we know she's onto something. When she's goosebumpy, we're good. So we want the whole episode of Goosebumps.
It's leadership is really important, and people relate to you because you don't hold things back. You say what you've been through, and they get to feel and understand and your energetics of transformation because you've been there. You can be relatable, and
you are really relatable.
Thank you.
Exactly.
You are really relatable
Because
with
I've been through so much shit.
You have, because that's what's important. And we got obsessed with each other because I didn't hold back from my stories.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, is that really happening for you? I'm like, I'm not going to say this spiritual life is me meditating all the time.
Yes.
And pretending that it's all magic.
Yes.
And namaste.
Yeah.
Because let's be real, it's not. The work comes from looking behind what is keeping me away from happiness.
Yeah.
And when it came to the growth on making money, I initially thought, oh, hustle for money. But truly, I think behind that, you can have wealth, but you can miss happiness.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And miss peace. And my whole quest is like, just let me find peace and let me be on purpose.
Yeah.
And I think what you do, what you teach is you are now doing something so purposefully. It was hairdressing, and it still is. But you living on purpose helps others live on purpose, and you've been my greatest support when it came to me, making me feel incredible even when I didn't believe in myself. So I'm, grateful for the magic that we lift each other up.
And I said to Belle, like, I truly believe that I was also brought here as a vessel for this work for you. Because,
I totally agree.
I couldn't.
Every single person, it was just like, I know how to fix this. You just need to see this person.
And I would have clients that have been with me for years, and then we'd have this deep conversation, and I was like, would you be open to seeing somebody? And they'd see Belle and be like, holy Jesus, it's like transformed my life.
Yeah.
And because Belle for me feels really different, because if I went and just spoke about my stuff to a therapist, which I'm not discounting, I think therapy is incredible. But for me, in where I was, I need fix. I need someone to show me the tangible steps.
Yes.
For this not to happen anymore, and what this looks like for me.
It felt like there was a resolution. It
So-
felt like there were steps to follow.
Yep.
To reach the destination that you wanted to get to.
And it was pretty
a
much
process, right?
I think also for me, it was like this work became kind of really peaceful for me, because say a situation was happening with a friendship. For me, this is the best way to describe it. And you were like, why is that friend being such an asshole? Like, why, blah, blah, blah. You were so mad. Going to Belle and her being able to show you, like, can you see that you've had this situation many a times in your life before, and what if your friend is doing this for you and not to you?
Good
you
call.
know, like,
Exactly.
it's like, what if your friend is doing this spiritually? So this is how I understand it. Spiritually, your friend is doing this to you because you need to learn this lesson. So until you learn this lesson, it's going to keep happening in different relationships. So the universe is trying to make you like learn.
Yeah.
So when I learned that from you, I think I stepped out of this like victim mentality, and I got really excited that it became about me, and I could learn how to fix things myself without, and understand things of myself without having to blame the world.
And that's perfect, because we all see a reality of bad stuff happening to us. But what happened is you became accountable through your law of attraction to say, well, I must have created this experience to evolve me in some way. And that's spirituality. If you want to take accountability of like, I created this. This isn't this is happening to me, not happening to me, it's happening for me. How do I, if this is happening, that the universe is so into my alignment, I created this experience for expansion. Now, when it comes to even money, when it comes to wealth, there's levels of expansion. There's, we can have all the wealth and it can go, or we can have wealth and still hold fear. And when you're in this aligned space of realizing in all relationships, you can start to expand, whether your relationship with money, in friendships and in all areas. It's all just energetics. So when it comes to the word spirituality, I think for me, I've learned spirituality can have a bit of a ick to it, because people go, oh, I'm not spiritual, I can't do this work, I have to be spiritual. No, it's just your energetics. And you've seen the expansion through doing the work. And, even when the times you wanted to give up, like, oh, Belle, I'm done. I'm done, Belle.
Into the gutter.
I want to talk about, so one of the coolest things that I have experienced with Belle, I want to talk the story. So we were doing financial stuff, and at this point, again, I'm going to be really open and share my experience here. At this point, so my husband and I, our first home we bought when we were 21, and we bought it before the GFC hit. So we bought it for like $430,000, and then the GFC hit, and we were paying interest only. It was killing us, so we decided to sell it. And I remember saying at that point, you would give them your firstborn child in order to sell a house. Like, it's not like these days. Like, you literally would sell it fully furnished with your dog, to sell a house. Like, it was really hard.
It was full on.
It was really, really hard. Like, this was 14 years ago. And it would have been a little bit less. Anyway, maybe 12 years ago. This was just as I met Belle. And then I remember saying to Belle, this house needs to sell. I don't know what to do. So at that point, we weren't living in that house. We had rented it out, and we were living in a little townhouse in Robina, because we decided to move back down this end of the coast. And I remember saying to Belle, it has to sell, it has to sell, it has to sell. And Belle's like, okay. And it took quite a while. It fell through twice. And I was just I remember going to Belle and being like, I'm doing this work. And Belle's like, you need to trust it. It will work. It will work. The craziest thing that happened was, again, this is when I started to trust myself around money. The week that house sold, I said I would never buy a house again because it depleted us. It ended up selling for $370,000. So we lost $60K on that house. And the week that it sold, the next day, my townhouse that we were living in went up for sale that next day. And the way that we had two loans on our house was we had a loan, and then my in-laws gave us a loan out of one of their factories that they owned. So when it sold, we paid half of it towards that mortgage. And then we had it was within that one day that we were able to say to our in-laws, I know that we've lost money on this. I know we're going to have to pay you back, but can we borrow $20,000 to be able to put a deposit on this unit? I feel like this is a good idea. And at that point, the unit was $270,000, and we bought it like that. They just wanted it, we wanted it, and done. And then, so all the steps it took to that, it had fallen through twice, and then we were able to buy the unit. The unit then a couple of years later sold for $490,000. And we were finally able to get out of the debt because we had all this. The story goes on. There are so many complexities in this story that, my in-laws' factory sold, so we didn't have to pay interest anymore. We just paid them directly. All of these things kept falling completely into place to now get us to the house that we are now in. And the craziest thing was, I remember saying to Belinda, at that point we were still in all this debt, because we'd lost $50,000 in the house. Mark had a tax debt. We were paying off my in-laws. And then with selling our unit, we were able to cross everything out and then just have this good deposit for our new house. And at that point, even Mark and I were struggling and things were hard. And I realized now, looking back, that I needed to do all the work with Belle on relationships before the universe would let the things drop into place with the house. And I'll put a photo of it up when this episode comes to light. But even you and I sat one day and manifested the house. I was like, let's manifest the house. And it didn't happen. I lived with my sister for 3 months. We had a newborn, and it didn't happen until Mark and I had gone to Hawaii. And in Hawaii, it's what fixed, like, that time in Hawaii fixed our marriage. We came home and literally the house manifested. And if I show you what my house looks like and show you what Belle and I wrote on a piece of paper, like twice on that sheet it says I want a bathtub that looks over trees.
That was
and
nuts.
Like I wrote split level, I wrote acreage, and then I remember writing, you know, I couldn't spend any more than 800. And our house had actually already sold for 890 and fell through at the very last minute, and then they had to take something really quickly, and that's how we managed to get our house for 800. Like, just this. And all of these steps, I then realized, all had to happen for this to fall in place. So even though I was like so angry about it, and I remember saying to you, like, come on, the more I stepped into the work and trusted myself that I was like, nope, this is right. It just kept happening. It is the most extraordinary story of how we got to that house and how we ended up being able to build our wealth.
I have my house because of Belle as well.
See?
What? Yeah, because that's when I had first come to see you was when Samara sent me, because I rocked up to her house bawling my eyes out because I had a friend whose hen's party was coming up, and my son had just been diagnosed as neurologically divergent, and it was full on. And this friend was so angry and so pissed at me and wouldn't talk to me because I couldn't afford to come to her hen's party. I didn't say I wouldn't come. I just couldn't afford to spend the couple of $100 on this boat trip. Like, she was pissed. It was awful. And I just sat on Samara's couch and bawled my eyes out. Samara sent me to see you, and I thought at that time I would be working on relationships, but it wasn't. It was money. And so we did a whole bunch of work on money. And because my husband and I had lost our house because we hadn't lost our house. We had sold our house because we were having another baby. And then we'd quickly rented something because we hadn't had anything to buy just yet. And then he had a cardiac arrest. So all our savings that we had, we spent in that time with him off work. And so we didn't have a deposit for a house anymore, and we were in a rental. And it was after we did that money work and we were looking at, like, it wasn't just the energetic stuff. There was other tasks you sent me to do. And so I was looking through this bank account and I found this random payment coming out.
Oh,
and
I remember this. This is the coolest story.
Was like, that's so weird. What is that? Like, I didn't know what it was. And so I looked it up and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. And so I went in
because
you'd
seen Belle and said, like, financially, like you
I felt
needed
like
to manifest money.
Yeah, I felt like we were never going to be able to buy a house again. Like, I just couldn't see the path out. And so I found this payment and I'm like, that's so strange. I followed it and it was an insurance policy, and that insurance policy covered cardiac arrest. And so we went through and I was like, I rang like the insurance broker. I was like, is this something that I should look into? He's like, yes. So we got all the paperwork sent away and we got a big deposit. Like, I think we got 63,000 of a payout for like cardiac arrest, trauma insurance that I didn't even know we had. I did not even know we had it. I thought I'd cancelled it years ago, and that paid our deposit for our house.
And that's when we knew Belinda was a magical unicorn.
Yeah.
You know, those stories actually really excite me.
I know.
But the catch is, you were led by some intuition to look at something. This has nothing.
Belle
to
will
do
always
with
say to
me.
you, it's all
It
the work
hasn't.
you do. It's all the work you
It
do.
is.
But, and
It
I
is,
get
because you're
that
the
now.
Lord.
I get that now. I'm a mentor because I'm like, this is up to you guys. Like, you guys will get as much as you put into it, but it's finding someone that can lead you through this to see.
I've been good at finding loops and holes and following a little line, a trail. And, you know, I do have like intuition that can lead to understanding things. So I use that, but I didn't realize it was part of my gifts until later on. But I think the most exciting thing is everyone deserves to have wealth. Everyone deserves to have a luxurious life. Now, I don't mean this from an ego perspective. I'm talking about feeling safe and feeling
Secure.
relaxed and peaceful. So you're not having arguments with your partner. You're not stressing. You're not overworked. And you can have this dream life. And, there's a lot of people talking about, manifesting to create wealth. Wealth on its own will not bring you the thing you're looking for. If you're looking for peace, if you're looking for happiness, follow. Oh, I guess this again. It's like, that's important. That's what I wanted wealth for. Why did I want to do my own energetics on wealth? Is because I didn't want to have arguments with Mark and have him working really late hours and being away from the family. I wanted to go on holidays 3 times a year. I wanted to have this experience with money that allowed me to have happiness. So it was always the quest for happiness, but I needed to look at the energetics under it, and
It's never just have a Ferrari. Like, if you want a Ferrari just so you can look like a boss-ass bitch, you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
Well,
Like, if you're going to do it because it sincerely brings you, like, joy and happiness, like, that's where you manifest from, right?
I think there's this world that, having more money can be the goal. And I really don't align with that. And there's a lot of people out there talking about bringing more wealth will bring you happiness. Actually bring the happiness in and wealth will come. And I know that sounds like a, pie in the sky idea, but working on your own happiness changes the law of attraction for you to create more things to be happy. So the universe says, oh, you want to be happy? Sure, let's bring you more money. So the catch is it's you are the change. You are the energetics. And I waffle a lot. So
No, you don't.
I
I'm
do. I
loving
start
it.
going on my
And
tangent.
it's this whole, when people say the hustle, mentality.
I don't feel it. And because to me, the hustle energy and creating money is really the ego.
Yeah.
To say, when I have that wealth, I'm going to feel good.
Yeah.
Now, I've been sitting in my feminine energy for so long, and I've been sitting in this aligned state of peace that I realized I also got left behind on the masculine energy of doing.
Yeah.
So this last 12 months, I've been creating more than ever because I had to work through my own beliefs around, I'm not good at doing, writing a program.
What happened with that? I believe it was a conversation outside Moo Moo's.
Some delicious brownie, a few cocktails.
Like, it was just brownie, guys. It was just normal brownie.
Yes.
A few
it was
cocktails.
A delicious chocolate.
Yep.
Maybe a few.
A few cocktails.
Which is always where our best work comes out.
So this is where we talk about, and I've said before, like our little Powerpuff circle, like when we talk about when you're aligned with other humans that are in this energy and how you can grow yourself, surrounding yourself with the right people is huge. Like having the right humans around you, those candle fosterers, no one that blows out your candle, like someone that sees you. I know at any point I can ring the girls and like, this happened. And they're like, yes. Like never would any of them have any ounce of jealousy or anything. They're just like supportive and loving in that.
This is a real thing. So I was going to do a little post on this. It's this system of wealth is trying to hustle to get to the top, to be the best and to be the best of, the best in the coaching industry or the best, and hustle energy to push, right? To me, I could give a shit about those things. The leadership that's important and being around people who it's this age of Aquarius that's starting to change, where rather than this survival and being the top, it's how do we move through with these expanded humans to bring all of that in, because I actually froth when you expand and you froth on me expanding. Rather than this being, and so you have this with your hairdressers.
Yeah, I love
team,
this. I love this in the mentoring space because it's so true. When I see and witness my humans like in that growth, and it's like when Belle's watched me do it, it's just like you're just frothing over it because you're just like, oh my gosh, like watching this and seeing this growth and this development, like when people are on the other side also jumping, like, and they're doing and they're like, it's all resonating and stuff, like it's huge.
Because there's not many people, this whole change is happening where it's not this competition, it's not this survival to be the best. You are just managing this environment and this in your space.
Introducing the latest program from Salon Rising, and one we are so excited to share, Culture Rising. You have been inspired by my journey and been captivated by what I've built. Now let me teach you. This is an empowering program to elevate and cultivate the dream culture of your business, your team, and your life. Step into a world where business thrives from within. No more chaos, no more firefighting. Culture Rising is a transformative program to develop your business culture from top to bottom. As owners, we hold the power to shape an environment that inspires greatness. Don't miss the chance to unlock the true potential of your business. Join us on this journey and witness this extraordinary impact of a thriving culture.
So part of you jumping out of, you going into this leadership role is because you would be serving more people doing this experience and helping lead, because you've done your energetics, you've done your feminine, you've done your masculine, or you're doing it. We're still expanding, right?
Yeah.
But the culture of hustle and being the best and being on top and being number one is gone. That was Age of Pisces.
Yep.
We're now in this, how can we keep expanding these humans and how can we lift together?
Yes.
How do we lift together? How do I uplift you? How do you uplift others?
Yep.
It's all this new energy.
Yep.
And it's out of the survival of hustle and wealth and, the mental mind and into a heart space.
Because the only way for growth for me is with others. Like the only way that I grow myself, like I've done all the growth with you, but then look at the conversations I was having with your husband, Mark, and how much that has changed my life in that way, because through having a conversation with Mark, who is so brilliant in his own right with the way that he does things, and him being able to look over what my business looks like and him being like, I think you should do this. And I changed accountants and it's been a game changer for my life. So again, for me, it's being able to get over that ego side and be like, I don't need to be the best at anything, but I know that I just keep looking to different people that go, how are you doing that? Because I like that way. Like, you're very successful. Tell me.
Yeah. Share with me the
You've
things.
got your life going on. Tell me the things, how you do that. Like, because it's like,
But then you also,
I always say this it's like when you are a new mum, and I say to new mums, like, only take advice from the mums that you like the way that they parent and their kids are great.
True.
You take the advice from them. Like, if someone's giving you advice and their kid's an absolute shit, like, this is probably not the best way. So you take the advice and the knowledge from
or if they
someone.
live a life that you don't align with.
Yes.
Like if you are not like a carry your baby 24/7 person, like don't take
that advice.
the advice from the person who wants to do that.
Yeah. So for me, it was like, how can you just like, I see the way that Belle lives, and I'm like, I like that life and I like what you're doing. So like,
What's the secret?
Yeah. How do I get in on this?
But that's the thing though. And this is what I like about both of you. Like both of you. You're like my best friend that doesn't like both of you. But this is the thing I really like, is that it's how do I do that and then share it with others?
Yes.
And that's the big thing, right?
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, I know the secret.
Because for me with Belle, I was like, how do I bring you to all the people?
Yeah.
Like, how do I also
You literally have said that.
literally, like, how can I give you to everybody? Because I want everyone else to do their shit too, so they also get to feel great. And that's really important, because I'm like, because I know how important this side of it is. And it's not just, guys, believe me, this has not just been done on money and wealth. Like, that was one tiny portion of my journey with Belle. I have done it on my marriage, and I continue to do it on my marriage. I've done it on friendships. I've done it on relationships. Like, it's transformed so much for me. My sister and I have done a session together, and it's transformed our relationships because Belle can help us to see the ways that we do things.
It was Belle who identified our codependency.
Oh, yeah.
I've often thought about that, going, oh, shivers. I don't want you to think that is a bad thing. You just are obsessed with each other in a codependent way, but there's nothing wrong with that.
I rung Jen one day, and this was not that long ago, and I was like, babe, I've talked to Belle. And
No, we were in the car. We were in the car going down south is when we talked about this.
Oh, I feel bad.
We have had quite a few conversations about this. No, because it's been really helpful for Jen and I.
It has been really
because,
helpful.
We found it in a way that she was like, Jen and you are really codependent on one another, right? One of my money behaviors is safety. So I need everyone around me to feel safe. So she's like, funny enough, you just give away money because you want those people to feel safe and always feel safe. So
Should
you're
I call
not
you on that?
Yeah, you called me on that. So she's like, you're like, I don't even remember that.
I forget.
So she's like, you want people to feel safe. So you give your money away, but then you're worried about wealth yourself. So
can you see how that connected to relationships and wealth?
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
But then Jen had this thing where she was like, so then I was not making her feel in control of her own life because she would give to me by not telling me all her hours, but then I'd give to her in a different financial way. So then it wasn't elevating her. So literally we were living this like codependency where Jen's like, oh, I'm not going to give you all my hours because, even though I've done all this work, I don't deserve it. And then I was kind of like, well, how can I help you more financially? And then Belle's like, do you realize you're not also letting her empower herself because you feel the need to give her everything? And I was like, but I love her. And Jen's like, but I love her. Exactly. So we had this codependent relationship that we were actually able to see and talk about and laugh about and understand what we were doing because we do this type of work.
So that little connection of realizing, understanding why you were giving her, because you wanted to feel safe and we're all obsessed. This friendship is dynamic and amazing and meant to grow. But you can see how limiting it was with all of how you were giving money or supporting each other because you loved each other so much that it was disempowering in some ways. So it's hard sometimes, I think, to have a moment of reflection. It's never meant to be something that goes, oh, God, Belinda, call me codependent. It's just noticing that this is holding both of you back. And that moment you witnessed it and went, oh, crap, I can see what I'm doing now is the exciting part because you've really jumped into a new space as well of how you have grown. And both of you have really shifted.
But see, that must be a kick for you. And that's why I love like a good kick. I don't know why I said kick. It maybe isn't the right word, but you know what I mean? Like a good thing. Get a kick out of it. Yes. That's where I was going.
Got it.
Because, you do get, and you're like, oh, look at me getting them to join the dots. I was thinking of you last night, Samara, because Samara's been doing some money energetics work with my husband, and we were sitting at a Mother's Day dinner and his mum started saying something and he just looked at me. He's like, oh, I really need to write that letter. That's hilarious. It's like, oh, Samara would be so proud of you right now.
And that's the thing. You start to notice patterns when you've done so much work. You can see behind the veil.
But then that's what's the coolest thing, even with our relationship, because I feel like I've done so much. Sometimes Belle will say something and I'll be like, I'm going to call you on that, like the conversation outside of movies. And then the next week she calls me and she's like, mate, head exploded. I have just transformed.
That moment you can call, someone can see under your own energetics to see what is holding you back. I'm still running this money program.
But then that's in love.
But
it's because that comes from love. Like,
exactly.
It's never like when you said that to Jen and I, you're like, oh God, did I say that? Like that codependency thing changed things for Jen and I. We're always going to be codependent on one another.
We went to the Moo-Moos. I think it was 2 days later that I wrote for 3 days straight starting the program because I'm like, something just unlocked.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happens when you have someone being able to see this stuff behind the energetics that I don't see. We don't see our own shit.
Yeah, we don't.
We need someone to call out this thing. And I didn't
even
have
when
confidence.
you know it all, you don't see your own shit.
No,
someone says it and you're like, And even, so one of the things also that I learnt from you, and I actually wrote this the other night when I was writing our culture program, and I spoke about you in it because I remembered this type of work, I'm like, I love it because I can take ownership and I don't have to have any conversations because I hate conflict. So it's like amazing.
We totally did that
and
for a while.
And then I remember Belle went through, during this time, it was during COVID, Belle was like, I realized that I'm doing all this work, but I'm not having any hard conversations. So she's like, this is a year of hard conversations. And I remember thinking, that's you, babe. I'm never fucking doing that. Like, you go, and every time she'd say it, I remember walking near your house and being like, totes hard conversations. I'm never doing that because I hate hard conversations.
Yeah, avoid at all costs.
Avoid it all. I'll just do the inner work on me and then that'll resolve everything. I won't ever have to talk to anybody about hard conversations. I just ignore it because hopefully it'll just disappear. And it's almost like Belle goes through it 12 months before I do. Because then 12 months later, it hit me in the face like a Mack truck. And I was like, this is my year of hard conversations. But those hard conversations also have transformed my life. Like, doing the work first so that I know where things are sitting, so I can kind of align myself so everything is really organic and loving. And one thing you always said, and I always say all the time in my own salon and in my life, like, is it coming from heart or is it coming from head? And if you can simply just put your hands on your heart and have a conversation from here, everything is so different.
I had to run from the fear of a confrontation, which is like, holy shit, I want to avoid this because I feel scared I'm going to say the wrong thing and they're going to come at me, to how about I step in and have a conversation, which is heartfelt, which is to be going, let me just get real, I'm feeling this. And all of my coaching, as you've heard me for years saying, you know, your head wants to go, I'm out, to let me lean into this, because that's part of the thing we were avoiding with the worksheets. Like, I'll do this worksheet so then I don't have to have the conversations. And there was a whole about 12 months where I was like, Tiff and I would laugh because we'd go, awkward conversations. And we'd have this, it was like a game show. I was like, here it comes again. Belinda, are you going to step up to the plate? What, you know, how are you going to handle this? And my growth came from, well, behind that, there was always when people would bully me or come at me, I would close up. And I had to learn to confidently say, not come from, hey, you son of a gun, energy, to, because it's not me, to say, hey, I want to talk to you about what just happened because I'm really uncomfortable with that. And know that I could, regardless of what happens, I could step into that place and trust myself to say how I feel. And the biggest part of what we do a lot of the time is realize heart is connected to feelings. And we're not talking about our feelings. We're using our head to have conversations. We're using our head to move ahead in life, rather than trusting, does this feel like a good choice? Does this feel like a good new employee? And you know, on paper, they might seem like brilliant, but your soul knows if they're a good fit. Your heart feels if they're the right alignment. And most of us are not trusting what we feel. And I want to light up this world with people who start trusting what they feel, their intuition. You know, intuition is not a head game, it's a heart game. So when you trust what you feel, you are using your intuition.
And this is the reason why I am very good at picking my humans for my team, is because the more I step into this, the more I just have that heart
Inner knowing
that this is what it looks like.
Because you were really closed off to that for a long time. You did not trust yourself
For a long time.
you wouldn't even interview people. You'd bring in our friends to interview them. Like, you were so didn't have that trust in yourself. And once you stepped into that,
And I remember even, hi Kiki, every episode she gets brought into it. I remember interviewing Kira for the first time, and I brought Ash in because she's in HR, and she was like, I don't even know why you needed me there, because we were just the right fit, and she's been with me all these years later. But now I know to trust that feeling. So people say, like, when you hire, even when I work with my clients now, I'm like, how did that interview go? If they're even a little bit like, oh, I'm like, no, you know, and they are learning to trust that as well. Whereas I'm like, I promise you, when you come to me and go, she is or he is phenomenal, I'm like, that's the right hire.
Yeah.
But like, you know, the right
you
hire
feel
for your
it.
business. You
your
feel
body,
it.
rather than going, I'm not sure. When you say, I don't know, it's a no.
Yes.
If you go, I feel it in my soul, this
Yes.
feels right,
Yeah.
your body's telling you that this is one of your people.
Actually, one of the things I loved that I've learnt from you is like that whole no situation.
Yeah.
Like, if ever Belle taught me that, she was like, is it a no? If it's a no, it's a no. If it's a it's a no.
Yeah.
It's either a no or a hell yes.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if someone, she says, you know,
Your body don't lie.
your body don't lie. She's like, if you are like, hey, you want to catch up coffee? And you're like, it's a no. She's like, but if it's like a hell yeah, you just get in your car and go.
I think there's this whole...
And honouring that.
I think that there's always, we want to be seen as being kind and being the right person and people pleasing, which we all do.
Yeah.
And we've got to acknowledge that. And, you know, the hard part, I think, is we spend most of our times really pleasing others rather than reflecting on what we feel is right. And we don't acknowledge that, and we don't identify. And so, you know, we talk about the spiritual journey. It's really a place of like, what it brings me happiness? Who are the people that bring me happiness? So it's like, you know, I tell this a lot. The story is like, if, you know, someone rang and said, I really need you, I'd be like, okay, regardless of what my day was like, I would drop everything because I loved that human. I wanted them to know how much I adored them, and I was going to do everything for them. But I had a whole heap of crap that I had to do that day that I'd put aside. So
Oh, no. I know what story I love the most.
Which one?
And I reflect on this story all the time. It's so simple. When you made Mark the pie.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to tell the pie story?
Yes, it's so relevant to this.
Okay. All right.
Again, it's something so simple,
Yeah,
but
okay.
every time I go to cook when I don't feel like cooking, this happens. So Belle told me this simple story, and again, she's just like a wealth of knowledge. Everybody needs her. But just tell the pie story because that I feel like to this is so relevant and so easy to understand.
So for a long time, this pie story. So one day Mark came home and he's like, oh, can you make me this pie? And now this pie is from the base to cook that, then the middle part, then the top pastry. It's all hand done. It wasn't like out of the pastry, freezer thing. It's like I was doing it from scratch. And mate, I'd had 2 kids, probably under 5 or 6. I was in my pajamas and I was like, oh man, they're ratty. The house was a mess. And Mark goes, oh, I'd really love one of your pies. I'm like, this is not a good time. But, as a good wife, the good thing is, I'll do this pie. So as I'm making the pie, there's kids screaming around. One's ready to bash the other one. They're running around. The house is a mess. I think I was still in my pajamas, needed to wash my hair. I'm sure I was like the whole way through going, this is ridiculous. I do not have time for this. But I made the pie. So that's in the oven. I'm like, good job, boss, wife, you. Like, he's going to be so excited. So he walks in the door and I'm like, he goes, did you make me a pie? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, oh, I had macas on the way home.
And then didn't also the pie fuck up?
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I spent all my time doing this for you because I love you, right?
And you didn't honour the fact that you didn't
It
want to
was
make
a no
the pie.
from the beginning.
Yeah.
It was a hell no. My body was saying this is not going to happen, but I ignored what I should have done. Yeah. So there's another pie, flip of this was one day Mark was out. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to make him his pie and surprise him because I'm so excited about it. And I was like, just making it, excited, ready to surprise him. He didn't ask me. I felt like it was something exciting I wanted to do. So I made this pie and he, walks in the door. I'm like, oh my God, you made me a pie. I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh my God, you're the best wife in the world. I love you. I was like, but I didn't do it for his validation.
Yes.
I didn't do it to be a good wife. It was for me something like exciting and loving that I wanted to do. So I guess, the pie incident was when you look at the energetics behind this, I really didn't want, my body's saying, this is not good, Linda. You do not want to make this pie. You're just
say no.
doing the right thing.
Yes.
And I couldn't say no.
Yeah.
I was always, sure is my thing. I'm like, sure. And in my head, I'm going, this is a terrible idea, Belinda. And then I was mad at myself because I didn't have the confidence to say no. Because I was so scared that I was going to upset them and make them feel like fearful that they were going to hate me or not like me because I'd always say, sure.
Can relate.
Right?
Yeah.
So I learned confidently to say, I'm really sorry, I can't do that today. Because I realized if I could, I would. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just because, I didn't want to do that thing. It was like, I love people and I want to help them. But if today isn't good for me, I really learned. I used to twist my ring around. It's like for a long time I had to be okay with saying no. And people say, can you do that, Belinda? And I go, oh, no, it's a no. And I twist my ring because I needed a minute. And I had to learn to trust myself to communicate and say, I'm really sorry I can't do that today, but potentially later in the week I might have some more time. Mm-hmm. And I learned this. I felt so brave.
Because you can feel it. And even when you and I go, I'm like, do you want to go for a walk? You're like, yes.
Because I'm obsessed with you.
Or you'll go, oh, I can't make it today, but we'll catch up. We'll do it through, how about next week? And I'm like, yep, let's book it. But generally, even for you and I.
I'm ready for you. We're ready for each other.
But things happen and I'm like, and it's just like that instant. I was like, hey, I can get over there today. And you're like, yes, come.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, I can make it because I don't also want to squeeze time in to get these tiny bits because I feel like I need to it's also those friendships, right, that Belle and I can go months without seeing each other and then I'll be like, I can get over for 2 hours and you're like, get here immediately. Yeah. But yeah, I just found that, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. It also changed my life. And it's okay to be like, it doesn't work. And the way that it gets received is also different too because, Belle says when you're honouring yourself, it will be fine. They will take it differently because you're honouring yourself. So I'm just like, I'm really sorry I can't do it today. And you generally on the other side, they're like, cool, no worries. We'll catch up. Whereas if you are saying yes and, you know, it's like that whole like,
And you don't want to say yes.
And you don't want to say yes.
It's a visceral
everything
no.
is a shit fight.
But this is also coming back to some honesty and integrity with how you are with your relationships.
Yeah.
Because even if you're like, if I'm saying yes to you, but your body responds with like, well, does she really want it? Because I felt like that was a no.
Yeah.
Your body will actually go, I don't know, does she want to see me? Of course. You can feel my BS behind that.
Yeah, come over.
Right?
Yeah.
And although I might genuinely want to see you,
Yeah.
it's only because I've got 50 other things that I'm having to shuffle around.
Yeah.
But you don't know that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying it's like that. But
Also, I may just like when a friend texts us now and they're like, hey, do you want to catch up? And I'm like, no, I just want to lay in my bed and read my book. And I'm like, hey, can't today, but like, let's try and catch. And it's okay to honor that because I don't want to do anything but lay in my bed and read my book. And that's also okay. And if they can't get on board with that, then maybe reassess that friendship.
I think sometimes because you've come into, because being a hairdresser, I think is one of the hardest jobs in the world. I said because, and I wanted to be a hairdresser when I was a kid. I loved hair and I loved making people feel good. And that's essentially what you're doing all the time.
Yeah.
But what you don't realize is energetically you're in their vibration all the time. And that is exhausting.
Anyone in the salon space is literally hands on somebody else's energetic body.
Yeah.
This is
Eyebrows,
real.
facials, like hair, anything. We are literally touching people and in their energy.
And taking their energy.
Just say someone comes in and they've had
on their energy.
Oh my goodness, there's a good one for this. I remember, and one again I will reflect on. I don't know how many minutes we're going, but I feel like this is going to be a 7-hour friggin' podcast because we're so
better
in
check
it.
that. Let's. Haircare Group is the trusted partner of the professional hair industry, a proudly Australian family-owned company with over 45 years in business, founded by a hairdresser for hairdressers. Haircare Group are passionate about the industry, partnering with salons to provide tailored solutions that empower you and your team to make your clients feel their very best. For Haircare Group, it's more than hair.
I'm going to finish this on a final story, and I feel like we could have Belle in a million times over because this conversation for me is so interesting. But I remember, and again, this happens to me quite often, and I think anybody right now that's in this salon space could understand this, but I had someone come in, it was years ago, I reckon it was 10 years ago, that was close to you, and they were having a shit of a time and they were having a really hard day, relationship was hard, work was really hard, and she came in specifically because she needed to feel better. And like I did everything I could possibly do and she hated her hair. Like I remember like her leaving and she was unhappy. And I remember talking to you about it and she came back, I redid it, she was happy. But I remember talking to you about it and you saying like, and how often I reckon all of you could reflect and say, yes, does that happen where someone comes in, they're physically wanting you to transform them because they're feeling so crappy and then they end up feeling worse and they hate their hair or they hate their brows or they hate their skin, whatever it is, because they're expecting us to transform how they're feeling. And then we put everything into trying to do that. But then I find it always fails. Yeah. This same thing happened with one of my close girlfriends. Like she was having the worst day. Everything was going wrong. She got her hair done. She hated it and she cried, which she's never done before. Yeah. But she was coming in specifically for me to change her whole life. And then I couldn't do it. And she came back and loved it. But it always plays over in my head. If someone comes in and they're like, I hate my day, I hate my job, I hate what's going on, and they're looking to you to fix them, it's a really hard job to have to try and fix.
How much did you take? How personally did you always take?
Oh my God! I'm still personal. Right? I still think about that night.
But it's also really important to realize how someone feels is their responsibility. When you take ownership of how you feel, and if you realize maybe in that conversation I didn't communicate as well. Maybe this human is trying their absolute best to give me through everything you've heard, to give them the ultimate experience. Because hairdressers have this, unfortunate situation where you walk in, you're feeling like poo, you need to walk out feeling like you're, some supermodel walking out of there. And you're in there for a short period of time. The truth of the matter is you do extraordinary hair, you always have. But you can't change how someone feels. This isn't I've always said to you, you've got all this information coming from what they want from you, and that's important, and you've got an idea of, and you're great at cutting and colouring. But at the end of the day, someone's going to not like you for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Right? And rather than sitting there going, if that person was conscious enough, they could sit there and go, you know what? I probably didn't communicate this as well, but maybe we could have this awkward conversation about, could you cut a little bit shorter or a bit different? But what happens when you just imagine to poof this person into feeling like get in their head and know exactly what they want? This isn't about skills, and this isn't about what this gift that you have with hair. It's about always down to communicating, and you have this ultimate goal to have everyone walk out feeling fucking amazing, and they do. But you can't please everyone when they've had a shitty day to come in and go, yep, you've also let me down. There's your program, my friend. Take ownership of that.
And I think even for me, once I learned that, I've grown so much at not taking things as personally as I used to, because that was a whole episode before this one. But, I used to take things so personally. And again, working with you over time has really helped that for me. So
it's
all those programs, I was bullied as a kid. So all those programs of that bully having to make sure someone's always happy so that they don't hate me, that whole, and we have so many programs, the need to be liked, but I also have to be okay that, you could be the juiciest peach in the world, but not everybody likes peaches.
Yep. Some people
it's
like
okay
bananas.
that people don't like me because of whatever. But I also generally will step into, and this is something, again, I've spoken about on the membership, if you are scrolling through social media and you decide you don't like someone or you're jealous of someone, generally that's your own shit. Generally, it's someone is doing something that you think is exceptional and you want to be doing it, but you don't have the guts to do it, or you're jealous of it, and then you're like, I'm going to reflect that onto that person.
Mate, that's the world of it, right? Because they've got something that you wish you had, and how do they get it? And what did they, who do they have to murder to get that?
Yes. Yep.
It's like,
and why are they there?
And what did you do? And you know what? They're not as good as what they think they are.
Yeah.
And all of this tearing down, it's like, no, done.
Yep.
What look at the fact that you're jealous of what they have and bridge that.
Yes. How do you become that person?
Exactly.
What are you doing? What is that person doing?
What is it that you envy about that person that you wish you could do yourself?
Agreed.
And all it is a moment of, you could look at it as envy and take that moment of choosing to be tear them down in some way. Or you can look at, what is this reflecting for me to heal in myself?
Yeah.
Do I not have the confidence to do that? I realize that, confidence is, if I had a superpower I could give everyone, if I could just poof and blow some gold magic fairy dust
she pretty
on
much
people.
does, but yeah.
It's confidence.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that this year is, for me, I don't ever say I'm at the end of the journey spiritually, and you never will. There's growth.
Well, even for me, I'm like, Belinda, step into your power. You are exceptional, and you don't even realize. Yeah, we go. I'm like, Belle, you're playing small, and then Belle's like, one day she was like, I realize I'm being like Nimbin Belle, I'm like this little hippie that's too scared of showing my power and what I'm doing, and I'm like, yes. How do we be like Bahamas Belle?
Yeah, we're like, I think I'm such an introverted person, and you know me, I'm quite a private kind of person, and I've had trolling. That's not fun. And because I'm so sensitive, I'm like, who hates me? Why? I just try and be a really good human and help people. So, I was hiding a lot of myself because I knew that I'm not for everyone, but I wanted everyone to like me, and there's a problem in itself.
Yeah.
So,
amen, sister. Jeez.
See?
At the end of the day, it's like, you're not going to have people love you and froth on you, and that's okay. Don't take it personally.
Yeah.
Just be you.
And support the people that will.
Yeah.
Because again, it's the same way with me being a hairdresser or me being in this, being in mentoring. I'm not for everybody, but I love the humans that I get to be there for and support. And they're the humans that I'm meant to work with. You're the same way. Your dream client, your ideal client, they're the humans that you're meant to be working with, and they're the ones that you get to share your gift with.
I think the catch is people realize I can lead. You're a leader. So what you do is I will lead you on the path to take you through the best experience I can. And the catch with that is some people will really affronted with some of the stuff you're going to tell them, whether that's around what they're doing with their money, what they might have to change in their clients, because the ego kicks in and goes, I don't like that you're telling me that. Right? And they can put up a wall and think it's you, but you lead from your heart. You've always been that way, and you want people to succeed. And some of the hard conversations are not easy sometimes to hear, but they're the ones when you can drop the ego, not take it personally, but say, she cares enough to call me out on stuff that I don't see myself or I'm not able to do.
And that's what you do for me.
I know. You do it to me. We win. Win-win.
We do it to all of us.
Yeah.
So Belle's business is called Empower Within. Belle, how do people work with you? Because honestly, you are a life-changing guru.
Oh, I don't like all the guru.
Well,
You
you're
know
a
what I say
life-changing
with this?
wizard.
No.
It's all you.
Energetic
You,
worker.
If you're looking
just
for
give us a name. We'll say anything.
If you're looking for a guru, look no further than looking in the mirror, because you have the energetics to change and be the person you are wanting to be.
100%, but we don't all have the
tools.
The tools.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it is a tool.
Thank
the
you.
tools that you have that help guide us to how we
Exactly.
do more of this and how we feel that sense of peace. Because as I said, I'm never going to stop doing this work. This work for me is forever. And
Sometimes we think we can stop and then all the shit comes up. It's like, oh, fucking
And I worked with Belle in the beginning a lot. Like I think I did quite a in the beginning. You can't. It's the thing is like some people do one session.
Yeah, and expect it all to be magically poofed away.
And be like, oh my God, that's it. I feel amazing. It's the same way in Salon Rising. It's like, this is going to take time, like a long time. This is months and months. I can start to lead you there. But if I hadn't have been working for 10 years, now I can see little things for myself. And Jen and I will talk on things and I'll be like, can you see that? And Jen's like, yeah, can you see that? Because I've been doing the work. It's the same way within the business.
It's changing how you used to see things. You're now seeing those, oh, there's the hole.
Yes. It's the same in the
Yeah.
business. Oh, there's the hole. There's a hole that once you've been doing the work, you can see. But I used to do, like when I first started, I did a lot with you because I think it's really important to do a big section of work. Otherwise, you shift one thing and you're like, oh, I feel better. And it's like, no. This takes
Mate, this
time.
is an onion.
Yes.
You're going to go through layers.
Layers and layers.
Let's be real.
And now I see you when there's something that I'm like, I need to talk through this. I need to see the underneath of this and I need you to help me develop this because as I said, this has been with friendships, with family members, with like I've done a lot of work on my relationship with my husband and that is still ever evolving. You know, I remember doing the work with him and going, holy crap, all of it is my dad. And people say you marry your dad, but like how do you not? They're the behaviors that you learn.
That's right.
Whether you go completely opposite or whether you go exactly the same, this is how I know to be loved. This is how I know
this was
to
the
be
safe thing
supported.
that it was in my life, and you attract it.
Yeah.
There's always going to be things to work through, and I think the biggest part is when you get coaching with me, or you know, I'm doing 6-week mentoring at the moment, and I'm creating this. I'm trying to help people to move through things really fast, and there's this very fast-paced energy at the moment. For when I was doing clearing and expanding, it was like moving through like quicksand. It was thick and fast, and you were doing it with me. Like, why is this taking so long? Manifesting's fast, creating's fast. All of this energetics that's coming in to do with the planets, not this, you know, won't go into that, but energetically there's more light on the planet and there's more clearing happening. So you're actually pushed to change your energetics. This is the new wave of, you know, empowerment that's happening, because instead of looking outside of you to make you happy, it's a bloody inside job. And if you're not looking at it, you are not going to be in the expanded space.
Goosebumps for anyone that's not watching.
You are the key.
Yeah.
You are the golden key to change your life.
And then I think this, just before we wrap up, because we could keep talking, if people are wondering why their culture isn't great in their salon, like how much work have you done on yourself? Because that's what I say to everybody.
Yeah.
Culture is
First and foremost.
first and foremost is with you. So if your culture is not right, if there's sticky things, like the amount, how much work do you think I've done on myself with my salon? Like,
Dude, I couldn't even.
so much. And it all comes back to me.
Yeah.
Like it all comes back to my
Because your
programming.
leadership holds a team. And if your energetics are not the best energetics you have, you are not going to lead them.
Yep, agreed.
If you're coming from the ego and coming from the head and you do this and you do this, you've learned to have those, you've learned to build courage to have conversations. So you can sit there and say, hey, let's have a conversation about what I think we could improve here. How you lead is extraordinary. You know, and that's an important part of your culture, that what you've done, there's always going to be hiccups. There's always going to be moments of wobbly bits. But what you do with confidence is to go, I can handle this.
Yeah. It's very grounded now. Again, that I've stepped more into that grounded leader, but
very much
I think
so.
that, if
There's a
anything, if
piece to it
someone
now.
says that, there is a very grounded leader piece to it. But, you know, if anyone says like, you know, where is your journey gone? A lot of it is all the inner self, and
Yeah.
it's the stuff that I've done with you and the stuff I've done with counsellors, and it's just the importance of working on ourselves.
Yeah.
So, in that,
Yes.
someone wants to work with you,
Jump onto my website, Belinda at Empower Within.
which will be in the show notes, so you can
Yeah.
pop on over. She's
you.
also on Instagram, so you can DM her as well.
Yep. That's belinda.empowerwithin.
Yep. And honestly, get in touch and have a conversation. She's got these incredible 6-week programs that she offers, that you work through all of these things, you know, and it's intense, kind of like my intensives when
It
it's
is,
one-on-one
yeah.
with working through business in a different way. But it's like this intense kind of go into yourself, kind of see what's going on. Let's move some stuff. I promise you that this will be like life-changing. As I said, I would not be the human I am. Jen would not be the human she was.
Agreed.
Had this extraordinary human not come into our lives and changed it.
Same. Thank you.
So I'm giving you all, Belinda. You are very welcome.
You're so welcome.
Yeah.
It's like, how do we share it with the world? On a podcast.
My goodness,
Yeah.
you guys. Thank you. I want to write more programs. There's one coming shortly, which I'm excited about. And it's around wealth.
Amazing.
Which is to solve the energetics. What started off as that day now is 6 months down the track, but it's been incredible, and it's very, very close to being launched, and it's affordable. It's a hybrid course, which I'm really excited about, because rather than coming to sessions with me all the time to work on this is a put it all in one basket, do it in one big red hot go, and you'll have quite break down a lot of the energetics around programming from wounds. And there's new worksheets in there, which I'm pumped about. So this chick has helped me become better as well. So don't cry. No, we
Love you.
bloody love you.
I bloody love you.
Bloody
Love
love
your
you.
girlfriend.
I'm very glad that I get to share this extraordinary human with the world,
Thank you.
because we wouldn't be where we were. I certainly wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. And, you know, that self stuff is honestly the most important thing.
Thank you for having me, and I know letting me
Thanks
come
for
here.
coming
and
on.
If you
waffle on.
guys love this, like obviously I could talk to Belle. Jen and I could talk to Belle for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
But again, with the podcast, like if you're loving these conversations, like let's bring more in of it and see what it comes like. I would love also to do some stuff in the membership where, you know,
Yes.
we can have a little bit of a tips of how to do things and move through things with
love
Belle.
to.
Yeah.
Love to. Tips with Belle and Samara.
This is my queen. Maybe with like some margaritas in front of us.
I think that's a bloody great plan. Tequila's not so good for me now, but we'll find something that I can change over to.
I love you. Thank
I
you
love
so much,
you.
Belle.
Thanks, guys.
Love you, darling.
ya.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye, guys.
And bye, guys.
Meet Hair Care Group, the trusted partner of the professional hair industry. They're a proudly Australian family-owned company with over 45 years of experience. Hair Care Group are passionate about empowering salons and your team to make your clients feel their best. They know that running a successful salon business requires you to wear multiple hats, and that's why they're here to help. With a curated portfolio of leading brands, world-class education and tailored solutions, they're innovating to make working in your business and on your business simpler. Join our community of like-minded professionals and experience the power of partnership. I can honestly say, hand on heart, that this company has transformed my business and the way that I do business. I strongly suggest for anybody who is looking at a new hair brand to get in touch with this incredible company.